First of all, thank you for this opportunity to discuss with you how we can manage low anterior resection syndrome in a sustainable way. So I'm changing the topic you see in the program. I'm not talking about our association or our role in sustainable incontinence care, but I'm going to more detailed problem that patients who've been operated for colorectal cancer may have. Low anterior resection syndrome is a condition that can result from operation and treatment of colorectal cancer, mainly rectal cancer. It's a multifactorial condition associated with very unpredictable bowel function and anal incontinence. It is very poorly known in the healthcare system, and it's not exactly known how often it takes place, but the estimation is 20 to 40% on people operated for rectal cancer worldwide. Now, I can't see the slides, I can see only me, but it's okay. Yes, thank you. Yes. Thank you. I'm sorry about this, because I can't read, so I don't know in what slide I'm going. So, as we've heard today, the bowel function and incontinence are very sensitive topics, even taboo. I mean, we've heard that in every talk here today. And what comes to low anterior resection syndrome, LARS, is that the mind is already burdened by the fact that you've had cancer, and cancer is life-threatening disease. So you are already in very sensitive state of mind when you come to realize that you have a condition that really affects your life. So, as you can imagine, and as we heard, as Nicholas very nicely described, having a chronic condition can severely impact your quality of life and restrict your life. So, with low anterior resection syndrome, the first thing one needs to do is recognize that I have a condition that will not go away. And people very often think that I'm the only one with the problem, and they don't want to talk about it even to the healthcare system. So the first hard step is to seek for help. And the second very difficult step is to get help. There's not much information on LARS in the healthcare system. I've heard patients tell that the doctor has looked at our web pages, what is LARS? So that is not good. And then finding the right treatment, finding the right aids for each patient. And then the third hard step is to cope with the situation. There's only so much that can be done for us. So people will have to learn to get along with the state they have as well as they can. So as we know, with low anterior resection syndrome, if it's not treated, it will severely hamper one's quality of life and restrict their life. But low anterior resection syndrome can be treated, and the stimulators that we just heard from Matti is one way to do it, but it's not the first option to do, because of course it's a big operation. And as I mentioned, people will need counseling, they will need peer support to cope with the situation. And there's actually very much one can do with a diet to affect their bowel function, but it's very much information. What does what? It depends on what color is the banana, what it does to your bowel function, and everything else on top of that. And of course, everybody has foods they like and foods they don't like, and then you should try to maintain a healthy diet. So it's very much information you should be able to put in action in your everyday life. And of course, one can have these fiber supplements to calm down the bowel function. And of course, there's medication one can use to make the bowel function faster or slower. But according to my experience, people usually do not have enough time to wait for the medication to take action. Now, they don't have information how long it will take. So they may take a new medication to get the effect they are expecting to get, and then it gets kind of over-medicated, and then they will take something else to counteract that. So it is suboptimal treatment. And there are different exercises one can do, and some patients use transanal irrigation. And of course, for anal or fecal incontinence, there are different pads and anal tampons and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things one can try and look for the best solutions for oneself. But it's a try and error all the time. So it will take patience from the patient, a lot of patience. So they will need a lot of guidance and information on what does what and what is the time that will be needed for each treatment options. And they will need support. Support to maintain the optimism and commitment to the treatment options. Topic of today, sustainability. So briefly, meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. For me, this means that we should use our resources wisely and not waste the resources. And when I Googled sustainability and looked for pictures, I get these 3 pillars of sustainability. It's funny they call them pillars because more often they are described as circles overlapping each other. I also found a very nice definition for social sustainability by Oxford Institute for Sustainable Development. It's a long text, and I will not read it all. I will just read the end of it. In this sense, social sustainability blends traditional social policy areas and principles, such as equity and health, with emerging issues concerning participation, needs, social capital, the economy, the environment, and more recently, with the notions of happiness, well-being, and quality of life. The words I put on bold are words that I think are very important in the managing of low anterior resection syndrome. And if I think the managing of LARS in these 3 pillars, we have the information and the support the patients need in order to provide them with the patients they need to find the right solutions for them and to support their mental well-being and commitment and optimism. And we need the resources to provide them with this information and support by the healthcare system and by associations. But here at the economic sector, we also have missed work careers. It's not uncommon that a person who's been operated for rectal cancer and develops low anterior resection syndrome is unable to return to work. The materials and medications that we need to manage LARS expand actually all the sectors or pillars. If we fail in treatments of low anterior resection syndrome, we waste resources on failed treatments, and we also lose quality of life for the patients with low anterior resection syndrome. But of course, we will not fail because we do have an opportunity to treat low anterior resection syndrome in a sustainable way and provide people with as good quality of life as possible. In order to do this, there should be enough information on low anterior resection syndrome in the healthcare system so that when the patient who has been operated for colorectal cancer goes to the healthcare system or see a doctor or a nurse, they will know to ask, how is the bowel functioning? Do you have any incontinence problems? Because usually they don't. And the patients may find it very, very difficult to go seek help. And this is very important because without sufficient information, we cannot provide the information and support that the patients need. And importantly, we could learn from the patients the real-world data from the patients with low anterior resection syndrome, the data should be collected and used to help other patients. Failure demand is a phenomenon recognized in several sectors and also in the healthcare system. It's a phenomenon where the customer keeps on returning to seek service or care because the provider has failed to meet his or her needs. As a result, the organization gets overloaded, the personnel gets exhausted, and the costs go up. And to avoid or eliminate failure demand, we should provide all the needed information and support on every treatment option that the patient with low anterior resection syndrome is trying, each treatment options, because likely they're likely to test several. So doing things thoroughly well the first time will save resources. And we need to provide the support that the patients need to cope with the situation, to maintain the optimism and positive attitude. So if we put the treatment options in the same picture with these three pillars of sustainability, I'm sorry they don't show very clearly, but have some color-coded asterisks, kind of indicating under which pillar each treatment option falls into. But the point is, there are things we can do without burdening the environment, but there's nothing we can do without resources. And I know it is not that straightforward. I know it's not that simple. If there is an aid or tool which enables person to return to work, but it's very expensive tool and it's very harmful for the environment, how do we value that? What is more important? And how do we value increased or decreased need for counseling? So it's not simple or straightforward or black and white. But I don't think that good quality of life for people with LARS and sustainable care of LARS are mutually exclusive. I think they can happen at the same time. But we need to be careful and think what we are doing and be aware of things we are doing. So I think that in sustainable treatment of low anterior resection syndrome, it is important to educate the healthcare system on LARS and systematically collect the real-world data from the patients and use all the data to provide as good quality of life for the people with LARS as possible. And we should try to eliminate a failure demand and do things thoroughly well the first time. And we should commit to continuous learning and optimizing the multifactorial care of low anterior resection syndrome and systematically share the best practices. This is important because it will save resources and it will support people with LARS, and well-supported person, as we heard today already, is likely more open to new options and as well as has better motivation to commit to sustainable options. I will leave you with this quote from the definition of social sustainability, with a kind wish that when we discuss sustainability, we keep these humane aspects within the discussion. Thank you.